I don't think any Israeli thinks that they're going to come here if things go bad in Israel. They'll stay and fight to the death for Israel. Israelis will go back to Israel just like we saw with this war. They will return to Israel and stand with Israel. They're here for a multitude of reasons. Maybe they come here to, after the army, Israelis come to explore the country, to explore life, to travel. They end up falling in love with somebody. They stay because that person has reasons to stay. Or maybe they make money and it's comfortable for them and they enjoy the life. But I don't think it's fear that brings Israelis to America. I think that American Jews should have fear about what's going on right now. I think that American Jews, unfortunately, many of whom are suffering from what I like to refer to as Jewish battered wife syndrome. They're not willing to walk away from the Democrats even for their own survival. They're so heavily invested, and unfortunately our country is so polarized that they're only getting information from their specific sources. They're not believing it from any other source, and I think that it's very scary and very frightening. For me, the writing is very clear on the wall, and it has been for some time. I too was raised to be a Democrat. I was a Democrat probably for the majority of my life, but I recognize when somebody is not a friend to my people, and at this point our survival is at risk. And I believe that this administration is not being fair to the Jewish people, is not standing with the Jewish people. I believe they're playing a duplicitous game where they're saying one thing and doing another because they want to garner the money of the Jewish population, but they're not truly standing with Israel. And I think it's very, very frightening for Jewish people.
Does that apply to local and state politicians, Congress people, for instance?
From my perspective, it does, because unfortunately, while there are certain Congress people that will support Israel, they will then go back to Congress and vote strictly Democrat. They will do what they're told. And unfortunately, that's a problem when the Democrats are not standing on the side of right and truth and the Jewish people and what's honest. They have a different agenda right now, and an agenda that's very frightening.
Are you concerned about Adam Schiff becoming senator from California?
I am concerned about Adam Schiff becoming senator from California. He votes the straight, knee-jerk Democratic policy. He does what he's told from the top. So, it doesn't seem to make a difference for someone like Chuck Schumer. He stabbed Israel in the back. He's not willing to stand with the Jewish people. He's doing what he needs to do to line his pockets and keep his power. And that's very frightening to me.
Yeah. What about Jewish Democrats, let's say from Florida, these places, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, where people are devotees of her and keep re-electing her?
Listen, from my perspective, it's the same thing over and over again. I don't see her stepping away from the Democratic Party and calling out Jew haters that happen to be Democrats and saying, I won't vote along with this and I'm going to be vocally outspoken against it because this isn't right. She might say what she needs to say to the people of her community, but when push comes to shove, what are her votes?
What would happen if the Democrats dominate not only the White House, but also both houses of Congress coming up in November? What will happen to, we see what's happening to Jews now, and the Republicans slightly control the House of Representatives. What will happen if the Democrats control all three branches of government?
Well, I think we have to look at what's happening right now. The only people, other than a very few, the only people that are coming out and speaking against what's happening are Republicans. They're the ones that are standing up. It's, and I don't recall her name, Elise. What is her last name? Stefanik. She spoke up very strongly on behalf of the college students. We have Ted Cruz who spoke up. We have Lindsey Graham who's speaking up. Where are the Democrats? They're playing this moral equivalency, hemming and hawing game when they say anything that is supportive of the Jews, but they're not doing what needs to be done. So I think that that's all we need to know. We just need to see what's happening.
What did you ask General Kahalani?
I told him that I cannot shake the feeling that the time for Jews is coming to a close in America. And I asked him, as somebody from the outside looking in, what does he believe, what does he see, what would he say to American Jews?
But what do you think?
I think that the time for Jews is coming to a close in America, and it makes me very sad, and it breaks my heart. I am a passionate patriot. I love this country. I have always loved this country. And it absolutely breaks my heart to see what's happening.
Well, fortunately, you have an Israeli husband. Do you think Israel will be safe for diaspora Jews?
I think that Israel will always have her heart and her arms open to all Jews through the diaspora. And I think that she will always fight for her people. And I think that that's all we can ask for, is to have people that will stand with us and fight with us and be part of us. Is there safety? I don't know. I mean, the world is turning against the Jewish people. I hope that there's a silent majority that will find the courage within themselves to speak up, because eventually it's never only the Jews. The Jews are always the canary in the coal mine. So eventually it will be everybody else too. And I hope that they find the courage within themselves before it's too late and they don't have us to stand with them.
What about what about Democrats who have thought of themselves as never Trumpers? Now that the opportunity is coming around, have they painted themselves into a corner?
I think that the reality is that you vote for your survival first. I don't really consider myself a Republican. I'm not a registered Republican. I consider myself an independent. But my vote is going to be for my survival, my people's survival. It's also going to be for a better environment for all of America. So that's my bottom line. And I think that if they don't like Trump, if they have issues with Trump, if they find him not to be a perfect human being, I'd like them to introduce me to a perfect human being, because I've yet to meet a perfect human being. I'm much more concerned with a book's pages than I am with a book's cover. And Trump's pages proved himself to be not only good for this country, but good for the world, and in particular good for Israel. He was a true friend to Israel. He stood up with Israel, and he did the right thing by Israel. He kept his word. He's the only president that we had who kept his word for Israel. So I would say to those who are never Trumpers, maybe it's time to look at the big picture and not box yourself into a corner.